You may have noticed this. In many areas of life, competition does not feel the same anymore. Your bank offers similar products as the others, and switching rarely leads to meaningful differences. The software you rely on becomes harder to replace over time, even when alternatives exist. And across many services, a relatively small number of players appear to dominate. This is often described as a feature of modern capitalism, a system built on competition that, over time, appears to become more structured. So, what is happening to competition within capitalism? Why do markets that are expected to remain open and competitive begin to feel more constrained over time? And why does this pattern appear across different industries? This shift does not happen in isolation. It is connected to broader changes in how power operates within societies, both politically and economically. Therefore, it is useful to clarify the lens used to discuss capitalism in this episode. In earlier episodes, we distinguished between ideology, system, and governance. Ideologies describe how systems are expected to work. Systems describe how activity is organized in practice. And governance describes how rules are created, applied, and enforced. In this episode, the focus is on systems. That means we are not evaluating what these systems aim to achieve, but how they behave as part of a broader, complex society. This allows different systems like capitalism and socialism to be examined on the same basis, how they function in practice, rather than how they are defined in theory. To understand how competition evolves within capitalism, it helps to step back and look at the broader structure in which economic activity takes place. Economic activity does not operate in isolation. It exists within a wider system shaped by political structures, societal dynamics, and technological infrastructure. These domains interact continuously, and their combined effects shape outcomes over time. When competition is viewed within this broader system, patterns that initially appeared disconnected begin to align. At its core, capitalism organizes economic activity through competition. Individuals, firms, and institutions allocate resources, and outcomes reflect what is effective within that environment. This process has had profound effects over time. Competition has driven innovation, improved efficiency, and enabled large-scale economic growth. It has contributed to rising living standards, expanded access to goods and services, and created opportunities for individuals to participate in economic activity in ways that were not possible in earlier systems. In that sense, competition has not only shaped markets, it has shaped the development of modern societies. But these same dynamics also set the conditions for how the system evolves as it becomes more complex. As activity scales, differences in outcomes begin to emerge. Some actors grow faster, accumulate more resources, and strengthen their position within the economic domain. Over time, these advantages can reinforce themselves. Larger actors benefit from efficiency gains, stronger positioning, and greater resilience. Network effects can further strengthen this dynamic as systems become more valuable with increased participation. What begins as relatively open competition can gradually become more structured. This development does not arise from economic forces alone. As activity scales, it increasingly interacts with other domains. Regulatory frameworks, institutional structures, and governance decisions shape how markets operate. In highly regulated sectors, the cost of entry can be substantial. Starting a new bank, for example, requires meeting extensive compliance, capital, and reporting requirements. These structures provide stability and trust, but they can also make it more difficult for new participants to enter. This illustrates how economic dynamics connect with the political domain. These interactions extend further. As systems become more complex, their effects appear within the societal domain. Changes in competition influence mobility, access to opportunity, and perceptions of fairness. Entering a market or scaling a new activity may require greater resources, and the ability to move within the system can become more constrained. These changes may not always be immediate or uniform, but they shape how the system is experienced over time. At the same time, it is important to maintain balance in this analysis. Concentration does not automatically imply dysfunction. In many cases, it reflects efficiency. Larger actors can operate at scale, reduce costs, and deliver improved products or services. And competition remains present. Technological change, global entrants, and shifts in behavior can still challenge established positions. Forces of concentration and forces of renewal exist simultaneously within the system. However, as societies grow more interconnected, the balance between these forces can shift. Entry may slow, barriers may rise, and stability may become more prominent relative to disruption. This does not indicate the disappearance of competition, but rather a change in how it operates within the broader system. Policy and governance are part of this dynamic. Regulation and institutional decisions influence how competition develops. In some cases, they reinforce openness. In others, they may unintentionally support existing structures. This reflects the interaction between system design and governance. The incentives that drive economic activity and those that shape policy do not always align. These developments also align with a broader pattern explored in earlier episodes. As societies become more complex, both political and monetary systems tend to move toward more centralized and more direct forms of control. This does not occur in isolation. It shapes the conditions under which economic activity takes place. As governance expands and monetary systems become more managed, competition is increasingly influenced by structure rather than emerging purely from decentralized interaction. These dynamics do not occur in isolation. Economic activity is embedded in a broader system shaped by political incentives, monetary conditions, societal behavior, and technological development. The structure of competition, therefore, emerges from the interaction between these domains. As systems become more complex, governments often prioritize stability, and managing that stability frequently involves working through existing structures. Over time, economic scale and institutional decision-making can begin to reinforce each other. Monetary conditions add another layer to this process. Access to capital, the cost of financing, and the structure of credit markets influence how different actors can expand or compete. Larger actors often benefit from more favorable access to capital, allowing them to invest, scale, and absorb shocks more effectively. In this way, monetary dynamics can amplify existing structures within capitalism. Before we continue, if you don't want to miss future episodes and want to join the community exploring these ideas, please like and subscribe. When viewed together, these developments form a consistent pattern. Changes in competition within capitalism, the emergence of concentration in some areas, and shifts in opportunity are not the result of a single factor. They emerge from the interaction between economic forces, political structures, monetary conditions, technological systems, and societal dynamics. These outcomes are not fully designed or controlled. They evolve as a result of how these systems interact over time. This reflects the behavior of complex systems. Such systems are defined by interdependence, feedback, and adaptation. Outcomes emerge from interactions rather than from a single point of control. It is possible to influence these systems, but not to fully determine their behavior. Understanding competition within capitalism through this lens changes the question. Rather than asking whether one system is responsible, it becomes more relevant to ask how different systems interact and how those interactions evolve. In that sense, changes in competition are not separate from how systems evolve. They reflect the same underlying movement toward more structured and more managed forms of coordination. This leads to a broader consideration. When societies attempt to influence these dynamics, for example, by restoring balance, reducing concentration, or reshaping incentives, what are the outcomes? Do such interventions increase competition, or do they introduce new forms of structure and new trade-offs? If you want to understand how these systems fit together, TNBC Explainers breaks down the core concepts one by one. Capitalism is part of TNBC Explainers Module 3. Economy, Money, and Financial Power. This is TNBC Explainers, understanding how the world actually works. In Part 1, we explored how perception and narrative shape behavior. In Part 2, how power is structured and exercised. And in Part 3, how economic and monetary systems interact. Together, they form a broader framework for understanding the societies we live in. Explore the TNBC Explainers course via the YouTube course list, or visit thenextbigcycle.world for the full course overview and background. This is The Next Big Cycle. TNBC Explainers, your guide to understanding the systems shaping the world around you. TNBC Explainers is a growing YouTube course. New concepts are added over time,